Whoa! Is that fucking blackface, dude?
I don't think that there's a bad episode of Smile and Friends to date. If somebody told me this was their favorite episode of the series, I wouldn't bat an eye, because it is a really solid one. It was the first episode that broke the formula of Charlie and Pim helping someone smile, and it had some really great art direction with the backgrounds and the stop motion monster. The entire episode feels like a bunch of build up to one really funny joke at the end, and while I can appreciate that, I do prefer an episode with more dialogue and character interactions. It's a good episode, it just doesn't have my favorite aspects of the show in it. Still, for my least favorite episode of the show, it's still very good.
Well, death isn't scary at all, no.
I do really like a lot of the realistic conversations on the show. They'll have a drawn-out scene of the characters just shooting the shit, and more often than not, it's done very well. But I think it just drags a little too much in this episode. I also kind of found that snowman character really annoying, even though I'm well aware that was the point. But I do think that there's a difference between a character that annoys another character and a character that annoys the audience. Still, maybe I'm alone on that one. Doesn't ruin the episode. And then there are some really solid moments too. I especially love the Bill Nye scene.
Fast food should be greasy and make your heart palpitate.
Yeah, but I'd never break the sixth commandment, dude.
I like this episode for introducing the idea of live-action characters that occasionally interact with this world. I think that the reveal that everyone tried to murder Salty is a funny one. With a lot of these lower-ranked episodes, it's not going to come down to did they do something wrong, but more so there's just some funnier episodes out there than others. I like these mascot characters. I like that two of them are from Spantopia, which we visit in the next season, but there's been better side characters for sure.
Get out of me head! Get out of me head!
This is one where I think the side characters are at their best. 3D Squelton, DJ Spit, and the guy with the fucked up head are all really funny characters. The Frown and Friends themselves aren't that funny to me. They work, but I never quote any lines from these two or anything.
Hell is actually real, and Christianity was right all along.
I was really surprised the first time I saw this, where they included a pretty real-sounding argument between Charlie and Pim, which even brought up events from the pilot episode, leading into Charlie's death. What a way to start an episode. I really like the show's version of Satan in the scene with Charlie's grandma. The song is pretty good too. I hated that Satan having cereal bowls and trash lying around in his room was relatable to me. Let's be better than that. The final line of the episode is also really funny. Yeah, like I said, good episode, just better ones out there. I like this one a lot. Joel Haver is one of my favorite YouTubers, so to see him get such a big role in one of these episodes was awesome, especially since it highlights an animation style that he either invented or at least popularized. Not rotoscoping, but a very specific type of rotoscoping that he does, where he only does some of it himself and allows the rest to be automated. So we get a lot of flaws with the rotoscoping that gets left in. My only issue is I do feel like this is an episode where the 11-minute time frame hurts it a bit. I would have liked a few more scenes with Pim and Joel's character and Charlie with the mad scientist. It feels especially rushed to me, but still as a whole it's a really good episode.
He chose the worst time to go. He chose the worst time to go.
We know.
An episode entirely carried by the dialogue. If you've watched this show and read what other people have to say about it, you've definitely heard people bring up how real the dialogue feels, and it really does. I think dragging out conversations like this often doesn't work. I really like the show Disenchantment, but I hate it when they attempt to do this, because they're really bad at it, and it just becomes a chore to sit through. But you do have shows like It's Always Sunny or Home Movies that does this exceptionally well, and I think Smile and Friends belongs to that category. I love how uncomfortable the entire exchange is, and I especially love the call with the boss, where they clearly want to ask him for money, but want him to be the one who offers it, and not ask themselves. I could see this one being disappointing since it was released in between seasons and people were really dying for another episode, only to be met with what was essentially a joke episode. But once you get past that and just enjoy it for what it is, I do think it's a really solid one. It's also just nice to get more of Alan and Gleb, who really don't get used a lot in season 1 past the first 2 episodes.
I'm Mr. Frog. This is my show. I eat the bug.
Mr. Frog is a funny character. I hope they keep bringing him back, like maybe 1 episode per season. It also stands out for being the 1 episode of the show to date where Glep actually gets his own storyline, which I understand. Glep works better as a side character since he can't actually say anything that the audience will understand, but it was nice for him to get at least one.
I was just wondering if you wanted to hang out with me and smoke weed and fill our bellies with diet soda and play Burnout Revenge for the PS2.
A simple errand turning into a grand adventure with a lot of twists and turns is a pretty common story for a cartoon, but this one does it really well. It gave us some of the funniest side characters from season 2 and even brought back an old favorite with DJ Spit. I just mentioned that Alan kind of got cut off in season 1, barely making any appearances after the pilot, so I appreciated season 2 giving him a lot more presence in these episodes. He's a really funny character, sometimes delivering every single line in the most awkward way imaginable, and other times sounding like a very rational person.
Oh, you're so right, Pim. I forgot about that factoid.
What?
You asshole, I'm just wondering
Asshole?
if you have any... Yeah,
Asshole? Did you call me an asshole?
Yes, I did, because you're being an asshole.
Bro,
Why didn't you help me?
I do love how everyone in this world seems to like Alan, while he just seems indifferent to everyone. Like, something about his awful personality is just so appealing to everyone.
Charlie, that's not Earth, right?
Dude, that's completely flat. That's 100% flat, dude.
I actually saw the storyboard footage they played of this episode at a convention a while back, and it was a really good indication that we were getting another great season, because the opening of this episode was really funny on its own. I love the crazy guy shouting, "Oh my god, it's a real UFO, I was just fucking around," after being such a prick about it. Having Mike and Rich from Red Letter Media as guest voices was neat, and that ending might just be my favorite ending to any of these episodes. I laughed so hard. Even if Charlie dies and doesn't come back did show Earth as round.
Please do not make eye contact with anyone. It's very sensitive. Please respect our tradition.
Charlie acknowledging that Alan sucked on his nose in the pilot and the Tyler bit at the start of the episode were great. I also enjoyed how weird and creative this one was. Spamtopia is an absolutely terrifying place, and I like how far this one went with that. It got very dark. I do think that, again, the 11-minute runtime hurt this one a little bit, mostly with Alan and Charlie. I felt like they could have had more happen on their end of the episode, but what I do like about this one elevates it so much that it's still relatively high on my list.
By the way, sorry about those loud noises. That was just from my diaper. I don't want to have another accident from a bad lamp.
The fucking guy that got to play the president was perfect. Every single thing that he says just being the worst possible thing that anyone could say in any given circumstance. I got a lot of laughs from this guy. Perfect delivery on every line. The stuff with Mr. Frog was also funny, and I do like that he's now the president in the show. The ended bit where the news doxes Glep over who he voted for is funny. It's like any paranoid voter's worst fear. It's all around a great episode. One of the best from the second season.
This is the story of Charlie the hero.
So much to love about this episode. I think every single scene is absolutely hilarious. Charlie's Hero song is my favorite song in the entire series, which is funny because Michael Cusack said on the Blu-ray commentary that he basically improvised this, and he had the intention of fixing it up later, but in the end they just went with what he recorded for it already. Harry Partridge and his team coming in to animate Mip really added a lot too. I immediately recognized the art style and what they were poking fun of, and it cracked me up.
Ew, ew, ew.
Me and my friends quoted this one a lot after it came out. It was our first episode of season 2, released a little bit earlier than the rest of the season, to go along with their April Fool's Day joke. Wimbley is such a great character, and the amount of fan art and fake video games that were made after this episode aired was unreal. I'm a fan of the guy who animated Wimbley in this episode, and I thought it was him when I was watching. Of course, you have to appreciate how many artists they got to come on board to help out with this season. It's resulted in a lot of artists on Twitter posting their artwork asking for a chance to be on the show, and I think that's really neat that a show like this exists now. As the great Hot Diggity Demon said on one of his live streams when talking about this show, it's like the good guys winning, and I couldn't agree more. Fantastic episode. The stuff with Wimbley is perfection, but even Charlie's side story was really funny and didn't take away from the stuff with Wimbley at all. This is an episode where I can actually justify the 11-minute runtime because it worked so long. It was exactly as long as it needed to be and balanced everything so well. As a whole, I think the 11 minutes work. I just think occasionally you get one that could have used more time. That's honestly one of the perks of streaming services, that they don't have to restrict themselves to a certain amount of time, but I guess it is nice to have a show come out 1 week at a time again, to really allow everyone to let each episode sink in. And I'm happy that Adult Swim has another hit. They've been more cool to their showrunners than most major networks have.
Look, Pim, I know it's our job to help this guy and everything, but I think this guy's a lost cause.
They really nailed it on their first go. Anyone who saw this and enjoyed it was essentially begging Adult Swim to pick it up for a full series. There was a lot of great material in this first episode. The awkwardness of trying to show somebody a video or a show that they clearly have no interest in was captured well. Desmond having a gun at his head throughout the entire episode made him a very sad yet memorable character. The weird guy living in the company walls was really funny. I don't even know why the part with the ant was so funny, it just is. It's a really great start to the show and does a pretty good job at introducing our 5 main characters and showing off what they do for a living. Desmond was a great first client with Mike from Red Letter Media providing a voice for his first time on this show, and what a fit-in voice. It's one of the most rewatchable episodes of the entire series.
Small move!
Favorite episode of season 1. I love Shrimp as a character. Getting both David Firth and Chills for voices was a nice surprise in this one. And I just think it's another episode where every joke lands. Mouse Quest being this huge MMO was really funny to me. The scene in the gym where the guy gives unprompted advice was another scene that was funny just because of how real it felt. Pim is actually kind of an interesting character in this episode as we get an idea of what he wants out of life, with his dreams of having a family, something that's elaborated on again in the very next episode. As silly as these characters are, stuff like Pim doing something selfish but having a bad conscience about it does make him feel like more of a character, which I do appreciate. The show knows how to write these guys. They're never going to be used for drama, and I don't want them to be, but their behaviors are pretty consistent. At least Charlie and Pim's. The boss and Alan can be kind of weird at times, but it's always in favor of a joke that lands, so it works. I liked the cover of So It's You, which was sung by Jason Page, who was also known for singing the first Pokemon theme song and even worked with Zach in the past on Hellbenders. That was an awesome choice, I like that. And how can we forget Shmormu, the original fifth Smiling Friend? Fantastic episode.
Hello, I'm Daniel the Demon Slayer. I slay demons so you don't have to.
The Nostalgia Critic cameo is playing a factor into this being my favorite episode. I kept telling my friends that I thought he was going to show up, and when he did, I felt so validated. On top of that, this is just another really funny episode. Charlie trying to show Pym his knife trick while being extremely intoxicated was hilarious to me. The boss's demon wife was horrifying and disgusting and really well designed. All of the forced attempts at doing cheap jump scares of it being a Halloween special was funny. I like Glep's little temper tantrum. Hell, Glep, despite only having a few moments in this episode, cracked me up. When the boss and his wife start getting a little too touchy during their wedding, everyone looks grossed out or horrified, while Glep just looks fucking angry that this is happening. His face just reads, "Come the fuck on," more than anything else. I know at this point I'm just listing scenes I liked, but that's really all there is to my favorite episodes of the show. It's just the episodes that made me laugh the most. And I think this top 3 is almost interchangeable. All 3 of these are my go-to episodes when introducing somebody to the show. And fortunately, the rest of the episodes are all good too. So yeah, pretty easy ranking video where I didn't dislike anything that was ranked, but sometimes that's okay. Smiling Friends. Check it out if you haven't yet. It's good shit.